Girls, welcome to another live edition of the Highbury Squad. The whole fam jam is here. It's Monday Madness. Let's rock and roll.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Good evening, boys and girls. Hope you got your free ticket. Don't forget to hit the like button on the way in. You got your wristband. We're ready to roll. And this legend is back with us tonight. Absolutely epic, Mr. Super Kevin Campbell.
Squaddies, good to see ya. Monday Madness is here at ease, Squaddies. At ease.
Kev, it's summertime. You've got those guns out. I'm just saying, you look just like you did when you were playing. It's pretty impressive. I mean, you're looking cool. You're looking good, is what I'm saying.
Do you know what, Sophie? I feel good. No. I do. I feel good, Soph. I feel fit. I feel strong. I look after myself. And you know what? It's time to rock and roll. You know that, Soph.
I do. I mean, you look exactly the same. You're definitely Benjamin Button. Zlatan claimed he was Benjamin Button when he was in Los Angeles, but I'm telling you right now, you are the real Benjamin Button. You get younger as you get older.
I don't know about that, Sophie, but you know, listen, I'm not as slim as I was there because I've packed on a bit more muscle right now. But you know what? It's still, Sophie, do you know, every time you put those pictures up, it takes me right back to Highbury. So
I bet it does.
It really does. Because, you know, there's been so much happened at Highbury for me. It's still incredible to see those photos and see the smiley faces of the successful boys, successful team. It's lovely to see. Thank you.
Totally. And thanks to our good friend, RUTH BECK, who always lends her great art to us, Kev. This is a new one of Arsenal Station, and she's done so many fantastic renderings of the community in Islington and, of course, her love for the Arsenal. And there's a lot, in terms of what you will remember from the East Stand to everything about Highbury and the nostalgia that it brings. It's Father's Day on Sunday, so she's got some great bits on her site, Kev.
So listen, Ruth's an incredible artist, and she really does it. Not only does she capture, she encapsulates what it is to be around at that time, doesn't she? That area was so prominent and such a special area.
The vibe and the atmosphere at the time.
Yeah, the photos and the pictures capture it. It's incredible.
Totally. And we don't get paid for this at all. We just do it because we love Ruth, and she's given us a lifetime discount for Highbury Squad listeners. It's Father's Day this weekend. She's got some cool new cards that you can check out. The link is below. And of course, how can we forget our incredibly generous friend, No Laguna? Go to at AFC Fees Tees. We're going to be doing a lot more with him next season. He's just waiting for me to return his call, which is going to happen at some point. But if you're looking for Father's Day gifts, please do check him out as well. As you know, through our talented Gooners community, we want to support all of our local artists who have a passion for the club and express themselves artistically through that. Right. Stephen Foote, we hope you're doing well. We hear you're going home at the end of the week, which is good news, Kev. Really good news.
My manner. That's right, Stephen. You tell it.
She is. Good evening to all the usual suspects in the house. Be on your best behavior tonight. We've got Super Kev back. You know what to do. You know, hit the like button. Don't upset him. Let's get stuck right into it, Kev. Silly season is here, or as I like to call it, the nickel and dime season is here. You said on this show about a week and a bit ago when I said to you, Kev, what do you expect us to do in the transfer window? And you said, Soph, hand on my heart, got to be honest, I think we're going to do the bare minimum. And there was, before we get to Marquinhos and all that stuff, I want to touch on this with Kev because a story broke last week. Now, whether it's true or not, we don't know. Mikel looked perfectly happy hanging out on the beach with his family the other day. But the report in the Mail suggested that he's frustrated, Kev.
Why would he be frustrated and the window hasn't even opened?
A bit worrying, isn't it?
Isn't it funny how the Mail have that and nobody else has it? And the window hasn't even opened, so yet he's frustrated. It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
So at this point, you're not particularly worried about that gossip?
No.
Okay. Here's the scoop, you guys, in case you've been under a rock living in the United States. But if you're living abroad, outside of the US, I'd understand you perhaps not knowing. But this Wednesday, Stan Kroenke's Walton family Colorado Avalanche KSE team is in the Stanley Cup Finals. This is KSE's second championship of the year. They've won the Super Bowl, as you all know, with the LA Rams. The Colorado Avalanche annihilated their opponent in the Western Conference Final 4-0. They swept, as they call it here in these grand United States, and they're off for another championship, Kev. I think the last time it happened was the Patriots and Boston, the hockey team in Boston, where you had Belichick and Brady. Mm-hmm. And maybe someone in chat who's here in the US will correct me if I'm wrong. But for those who don't believe that they have the means and they have the ability to build championship winning teams living here, I've got to say, Kev, just why can't you do this for the Arsenal? You're throwing the kitchen sink.
No, but you see, whoa, Sophie, let's get it right. Let's not just talk about the success, because it hasn't just happened overnight. And this is what people must understand. It hasn't just happened overnight. They've built this with LA. Remember, LA got to the Super Bowl against the Patriots and got beat easily, virtually. So this has been built. Young coach came in and they built this. And it's taken them a few years. But when you see the success, then you say, why can't you do that for Arsenal? But it takes... Now that they've got the reins, now that they've got the young coach, now we're in the window. This is where we're going to see.
Yeah, I will say that it happened quicker than I thought it would with the Rams from the time they moved from St. Louis to Los Angeles. They built the stadium. As they were building the stadium, of course, there were things going on behind the scenes. But once they got into the stadium, COVID hit and they couldn't really play there. There wasn't much football. There were no fans, right? But since then, they've made it happen pretty quickly. Why? Because they threw a lot of money at the team, a lot of money quickly to build the team. They wanted instant gratification and instant return on that. And, they hadn't won the Super Bowl since they were in St. Louis with the greatest show on turf and Kurt Warner. Mm-hmm. The Avalanche, I believe, have won the Stanley Cup in 96, 2001. They've definitely been a team that's been there or thereabouts. And I hear what you're saying. I think the argument is always, yes, they took final control in 2018 of Arsenal, so why would they have put their own money into the club prior to that? You and I have had a good show, and you can check it on the channel, the debate on the Kroenkes and the timeline of their ownership. I guess my point is now it's a few years on, and it feels like now's the time, which you also said, Kev, like this summer is the time. And I'm tired of the we're gonna. Now it feels like
it happened.
Yeah.
It better And do you know what, Sophie? Look, we've been on air. And we've discussed all what's going on in the background, and we've given time, and there's times we get frustrated, etc. Sophie, let's be brutally honest. This is it. There are no second chances anymore, because we know if the investment was right last season, we would be in the Champions League. We know that. Yeah, things could go wrong, we know, but if we'd have invested properly, would have been in the Champions League. So there's no two ways about it now. You've got to invest in this squad to get it up to speed, to be able to sustain a challenge and to be able to go at multiple trophies with a squad. You've got to make that investment now. If they don't, Sophie, then they're kidding us. That's it. There's no more time, no more. This is it.
Yeah. Because as we know, by the way, this comment, stop comparing the American franchise sports to European football. It's not even close. Arsenal are building a sustainable squad. The Rams will be depleted at the same pace as the contracts expire. Well, free agency has done that here, yes, but the New England Patriots built a dynasty. They were consistent year after year after year. So what you're saying is a little off base. You know, the Kansas City Chiefs have won one. They've been to a few Western Conference finals now. They may not have won the big one and been let down, but it's the NFL is becoming much more sustainable now because of free agency. So we can compare, because when you have an owner, and you've seen the ownership of John Henry at Liverpool making moves. He's won the World Series with the Boston Celtics. You've seen what Tampa Bay did with Tom Brady. Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, of course, the Bucks owners own Manchester United. They've fallen by the wayside a little bit. So I think it's an important comparison when we're talking about ownership in football, the Premier League, especially, Kev, as you have that bottomless pit money now from Newcastle, from Manchester City, and, you know, obviously PSG in Europe and what they've been able to do with Mbappe. If we don't capitalize on this window, your comment has stuck with me, because everyone's going to move forward and progress, and we can't regress, which is why I wanted to bring up the Mikel Arteta story in case, is there something there? Has he been told something? You know, is there a story to this? Was last year's window the way to get us back, but January was indicative of us not wanting to build and throw the kitchen sink to finish, you know, and qualify for the Champions League? There's still these little concerns about our club, isn't there?
Yeah, listen, of course there's concerns, Soph. It wouldn't be Arsenal if there's not concerns. I don't particularly think there's a lot of mileage in Mikel Arteta's frustrated. I think knowing that he couldn't go and do what he wanted to do in January means obviously he's going to get the backing to go and make some moves in the close season. This is what we need. Now, at the end of the day, Soph, if he doesn't get backed, we are going to know. Everybody's going to see it. Let's be honest. And I think it would only, if he doesn't get backed, I think the fans will turn quickly on Kroenke. Because we are close, Soph. We're not far. We're close.
And I agree with Take That. You know, Edu did an interview on Sky Sports, Kev, where he talked about we're starting with youth, we're refreshing the team. Then the goal is to sign world-class players. That time is now. You know, okay, we don't have Champions League football to offer. We still have European football to offer, which we didn't last season. Turns out Tomiyasu and Odegaard and Ramsdale worked out. You know, Gabriel signed previous to that. Of course, Thomas Partey, we hope he stays injury-free. You've got the
Happy
youth in Saka. Yes, by the way, happy birthday. But there's no way on earth, I don't think, and I've not been a fan of Arteta, there's no way he doesn't want to spend money to build on this team. I don't think there's any manager in modern-day football that doesn't want the money to build on the team, Kev.
Sophie, there's not one manager who doesn't want the best players. There's not one manager out there who doesn't want the best players. And Mikel Arteta, he's worked with the best players at Manchester City, so he knows I could do with some of that at Arsenal. Now we are in the window, so he wants to work with one Gabriel Jesus. He wants him in. He wants Tielemans in. They're two upgrades on our squad straight away. And obviously there'll be more. We need more. So let's be honest, we need more. We need minimum 8. If we get 6, I'll be happy. We get 4, okay. But if we just get 1, 2, or 3, no. We need bodies, Soph, and we need quality bodies.
I agree completely. And I think this is the moment and the time to bring in players like this, you know, players like Jesus. So let's talk about this a little bit, Kev, because of course, when negotiations are happening, there's always stuff brewing. You've been a player. Let's say when you were going to go to Everton, right? And I know things move in football and, you know, the way, the style, dealings. I just think the vehicle may be changed, but the fundamentals of making a deal is the fundamentals of making a deal, right? Am I getting the best deal for me? All the clauses, all everything. Can you talk me through that process right now? Because a lot of people are panicking with Jesus in the sense that there's been a report from, I think the Football Terrorist said today that Fabrizio Romano said that Jesus has agreed personal terms. I don't think we know that yet. I haven't seen an official tweet from him.
That's one part of a transfer.
That doesn't mean the club have agreed the fee, does it, Kev?
No. The terms with the player is agent and club negotiate. This is what we're looking for. This is the bits and pieces. This is the clauses. This is this. That's that. Any caveats, and they go back and forth. Right, we've agreed with the player. That's one part. Okay, we move that and put that over there. Now comes the most important thing. You've got to now start negotiating with Manchester City for a fee. He's got 1 year left on his contract. Manchester City want good money because he's young, he's fit, he's a Brazil international. You could say he's world-class, Sophie, because he plays for Brazil. He starts up front. So on the world stage, he starts for Brazil. Although we know at Manchester City, he doesn't start as much as he would like. But I'll tell you one thing, everybody seems to know he's the best pressing striker out there. And that's what Mikel Arteta needs. He wants a striker who can get after defenders. And then when we win the ball back, has the energy to get into the box and score goals. Unfortunately, Lacazette didn't have that energy or stamina left anymore to do that because it's so high tempo. But this boy, this young man, he's got it in abundance, Soph. He's got it in abundance. And he's one of the key pieces that we need. And I know a lot of people look at other strikers, but you need the fit. The fit is the key. And he fits what Mikel Arteta wants to do.
Kev, what would you say to... So that's the process of the... And I think Newman asked the question about not being allowed to talk to a player until a fee had been agreed with the club. Has that changed in the modern game? In the sense of you got to find out and know what you want. They're not breaking any rules. They go ahead and then they sign. Then they start negotiating the transfer fee and the contract.
It's known.
Unspoken.
It's known. Haaland comes in. Well, Jesus is gone. Mm-hmm. He's not going to hang around when he was on the bench for a lot of the time when there was no striker. Now Haaland's there. There's no chance. So I think the club obviously would say to him, look, if you go and get yourself sorted out, fine. So when it matters, when they don't want a player to talk to somebody, that's when that kicks in. But when the club are happy for the player to get himself sorted out, that doesn't apply.
Yeah. And of course, I think too here, a lot of the times we talk about relationships in football, Kev, and it's very important. There were managers that you enjoyed playing for, and there were managers that you signed, you know, for or during your tenure at a club. Managers changed, and sometimes it was a good thing. Sometimes, it was a bad thing. Um, but the point that and the reports are consistent in that he wants to play for Arteta. And we've always said that can he attract that type of ilk of player? And especially knowing that Antonio Conte down the road can offer Champions League football, they do need help up front. And of course, they're talking to Richarlison, who was linked with our club at some point. But how important is that he wants the wanting to play for the club? This is something that I think is big for you and has been in the past that you bring up quite a lot on our show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's vital, Sophie. It's so many times we've seen players come to Arsenal and come because of the paycheck. They're not really bought in. When they're there, yeah, it's all right. But you could see they're not there because they want to be there, really. Jesus he can go play Champions League football, but he wants to come to Arsenal, 1, because he knows the manager, 2, because he knows the system, and 3, which is the most important thing, he wants to be the main man. He's done his apprenticeship at Manchester City. He's won multiple Premier Leagues and cups, but he wants to be the main man, Sophie. Nothing beats being the main man. And he's seen this Arsenal side play, and he thought, if I was in that team, do you know what? I could do bits. And obviously, he knows the manager. He knows the way the manager works. So he feels he could do really well. And a lot of people, here's the funny thing, a lot of people say, oh, he doesn't do this, he doesn't score this, he doesn't do that. But he's never played all the time. He's never played week in, week out. He's never been the main man at Manchester City, ever.
But he still scored goals, Kev, and his stats stand up, don't they?
Of course. And this is the thing, Soph. And a lot of the time, he doesn't start as a centre forward.
Right.
He starts as a wide player or, comes off the bench. So for somebody like him to play every minute of every game, his goals are going to go up for sure.
He started 28 games this season, 7 as a sub, scored 8 goals. Previous season, 29, 7 as a sub, 9 goals. 2019-20, his best season by far, with 34 starts, 13 as a sub and scored 14 goals. Kev, look at who's been in front of him. Probably one of the best goal scorers in the history of the Premier League in Aguero. Look at the way Pep Guardiola likes to play. Are Arsenal fans once again starting to be a bit snobby about turning their noses up? I can't believe there are some Arsenal fans out there that do not think at the money we're talking and the upgrade that I feel is so evident would be so snobby to say he's not good enough. He's not world class. Okay, world class might be a word or a phrase that is used very loosely these days. But he's, like you said, he starts for Brazil, plays with some of the best players, coached by the best coach. I don't understand what the problem is here for some Arsenal fans, Kev. It blows my mind.
I don't, Soph, but I understand what Arsenal fans, because I suppose they want Arsenal to go and sign Kylian Mbappe. That's what Arsenal fans seem to want. We are not in that market. So what we've got to do, we've got to go and sign somebody who can do the job, who knows how to do the job, who has got a bit of hunger to be the main man. That's the key now for Arsenal. We don't have the money to go and splash 100 million on a striker. We just don't have that. We don't have the money.
And Craig, we would love Darwin Núñez at Arsenal, Kev. We would love for the owners to say, you know what, we're going to go spend all the money in the world to get us back into the Champions League and try and win the Premier League. We would love that. We would love to buy Nunes. We would love to buy Haaland. We would love to buy all these players, but that's not the reality.
That's not exactly so. That's not real, Craig. The reality is Liverpool can spend that money because Liverpool don't need it much. Liverpool, they're losing Mane, so they need one player or two players max. We need 8 to 10. It's a big difference. We are not spending 185 to 100 million on one player. We are not. So let's get realistic.
Kev, I would love. I was saying I was listening to Tom Canton and the Arsenal Lounge boys earlier, and I was saying in the chat, I would love. Okay, if you say to me, go build the team, I would love to go get Declan Rice and put him in midfield and build a team around him and Saka and Martinelli and Emil Smith Rowe, and Tomiyasu and Gabriel and Ramsdale. Okay, talk about a nucleus for 10 years. I would love that. But is that going to happen? No. Do I think that's where we should be as a club, making those kinds of deals? Yes, I do. But that's where the rubber meets the road with ownership and what the ambition is versus, and it's not like we don't have the funds, Kev, to do those things. And I think that's where Arsenal fans get frustrated.
Yeah, but we don't have the funds to do that and fix everything else. We don't. So
how don't we? How he could write a check out of his own pocket tomorrow?
No, but Sophie, financial fair play will catch up with us.
Didn't catch up with City. Have they been fined? Have they been docked points? Have they been hurt by any of what they've done? Did Chelsea?
Sophie, they've been in the Champions League. They've been winning titles. Their output, and obviously they have Abu Dhabi behind them. It's different, unfortunately. When you're winning and when you're on top, everything opens up. But when you're not winning and you're not winning leagues and you're not in the Champions League, financial fair play, it absolutely does cripple you. And that's what's happened to Arsenal. Now, that's why we need to get back there.
I completely disagree with what you're saying in the sense that they're as rich as Roosevelt, the Cronkies and the Waltons. The brother-in-law has just bought the Denver Broncos, and they bought it to build the land around Mile High Stadium.
Yeah,
this is insane. I'm sorry, there is money.
It doesn't matter how deep your pockets are.
But why should that matter for Arsenal and it hasn't mattered for Newcastle and
PSG? It has mattered for Newcastle. It has mattered for Newcastle because Newcastle were in more deficit than we were.
Yeah, but that's deficit. That's the past. We're talking about what's going to happen with the future money. And
but the past, Sophie, you can't just throw away the past because that allows you. Remember, Newcastle haven't spent. This has been the big problem at Newcastle.
I find it hard to believe that you're talking about FFP for Arsenal.
No, I'm talking about Sophie. What I'm talking about is this. Arsenal have spent money. Newcastle, that's been their problem. They haven't spent the money. So their FFP parameter is bigger than Arsenal's because Arsenal have spent the money. Newcastle haven't. This is the problem. And it's all very well to say, oh, they can do it, we can't. But we've spent the money. If we'd spent the money better, we wouldn't be in this position.
Okay, so in comparison to Liverpool and Manchester United and Manchester City, are you saying that we have FFP issues? I find it hard to believe that...
Sophie, my point is this. Manchester United, FFP style, remember, you could spend what you earn, basically. They earn a hell of a lot more than we do. Yet they've been worse. Okay? They've been worse. Manchester City had the initial influx of big money in, and then every so often, Manchester City go and get this one and get that one. Liverpool have done it probably the smartest out of anybody. Liverpool have. And don't forget, Sophie, Jurgen Klopp, remember when what was it, 2 years in, and he said, look, I think it was after Man City signed someone or somebody made a big sign in Chelsea or whatever. He said, if the moment I go and spend 85 to 100 million on players, that will be it. What's he just done? He spent money on Alisson, he spent money on Van Dijk, and now he spent money on Núñez. That's the way it goes. But because they've been smart in their outgoings and incomings, that's why they can do it.
Well, because we've made no profit on selling any players. So that's been an issue. And our net spend.
Massive.
So we're talking about net spend, right? And also we use cash flow for those purchases versus some of the ownership like PSG or Man City or Abramovich who have dipped into the personal money of owners, right? So what's the expectation then for the summer? I mean, sometimes when fans on here talk about debt and other fans poo-poo it, it's evident then. So we're in a financial crisis as a club then.
Sophie, the financial crisis has been going on for years. Signing players and not getting anything for players when they leave and having to pay them off, that's a crisis.
Well, that's been a pandemic for us in the last 2 years.
Exactly. And finally, it seems as though we're putting a line in the sand and stopping that nonsense.
So the Champions League money could have helped us greatly.
Well, of course it could.
Like it's helped Liverpool.
But remember, Liverpool year after year after year, winning helps. Manchester City, Champions League, Champions League, Champions League, more sponsors, Champions League, Champions League. This is how we've built in the past.
So what's the net spend then, Kev?
Of what?
Of everything that we've done, say, for the last, I don't know, is it year? So the transfer market last summer or before that, or what hasn't been sold, or what the investments that we've made. Everyone keeps talking about net spend. For idiots like me and people out there who don't understand, what does that mean?
Well, what you got to remember is your net spend is what is your incoming and your outgoing, and what's left is your net. So our net is probably minus or high, meaning it's high because, Sophie, if you buy somebody for 40 million and then you're having to pay them off to leave a few years later, that's costing you double, in a sense. It's cost you twice. It's one thing if we bought somebody for 40 and we sold them down the line for 20, then it's a hit you can take. But the running of Arsenal Football Club, as we've discussed many a time, has been absolutely atrocious. Liverpool have been getting players in, young players, and selling them on for like 20 million.
And our income doesn't balance that at all.
No, but young players. So let's say they signed a player for 10 million and they sell him on for 15, 20 million. That's good business. Arsenal haven't done that, so Arsenal's business has been atrocious. They even threw the, what you remember when they threw the what was it? They threw the metrics at us. I mean, you can't write this stuff.
Players like Ozil, Sanchez, Kolasinac, Sokratis. Well, Kolasinac came in on a free, but Pepe, they're all they're write-offs.
You're taking a hit. You hit down the line. Hits. And Sophie, what I'm not saying is we have to sign players that have a resale value, because sometimes it don't work. But you know what the key is, Sophie? Sign players that are good enough to do the business in your team.
But also protect the asset and the contract.
No, but Sophie, sometimes if you sign a player at 27 and you sign him on a 5-year contract, and he gets to the end of his contract, and he's 32. Listen, I've got no problem. He could leave on a free because we've had 5 solid years out of him. But you can't sign 5, 6, 7, 8 players, and 6 of them you pay to leave. It's madness.
To be honest, the last good deal we did was selling Iwobi for 35 million to Everton. This is why I wanted to listen. Everyone knows I've been very honest on this show since it started. Maths is my weakest subject. I'm more of a creative brain. I don't know what happened to me maths wise, but in my last year of secondary school, I took a dump. It was bad. I just stopped thinking. That side of my brain just went. So I like learning and understanding. And every single time we talk, Kevin, we've gone through this and we've been through the report. We had Magic Mike on actually that took us through every single element and step by step by step. How is it these billionaires continue to make these mistakes?
Sophie, remember, there are restrictions to what you can do. And let's have it right, Sophie. This has been going on for years. This isn't just something that's new to Arsenal. This has been going on for years, over a decade. Because what? We didn't buy the right players in the first place, Sophie. You know, there's a saying, Sophie, if you're going to do something, do it right. If you're going to do it right, then you're fine. When you don't do it right, it actually costs you more. You try and cut corners, it costs you more.
So when the Kroenkes took final ownership in 2018, clearly we all know they inherited a mess. Even though they had a majority share, but they became majority owners in 2018. They inherited a financial disaster, Kev?
Yeah. Well, it was already there. I mean, the Gazidis of this world were talking about metrics. Do you remember? 1 minute we're going to dine at the top table in Europe. We're moving to the Emirates to compete. Then after that, Sophie, it was, we work on a metric system. What nonsense! It's all BS. Arsenal Football Club, bottom line, Sophie, they never were in the market to be the best. That's the bottom line. And if you're in there to be the best, it tells with your signings.
You know, every single time we have this conversation, it feels like a new conversation to me because I just can't believe that a club of this stature has made these kinds of mistakes and has got us to this point and the hole that we're in financially. And moving to the Emirates, you know, we were sold the dream that we were going to compete, but we all know that we spent those 10 years trying to pay off the debt, you know, to the stadium. And this is why, you know, sometimes I don't want to be a Debbie Downer or be seen as negative, but when I say like, exactly, someone just wrote it in here, Nick, this club is a cash cow for the owners. We don't launder, we cycle money through it. It's I don't know what their end game is. Is it to get the value to a certain point to sell it, Kev? What is the end game?
If it is to get the value, you got to have the value on the pitch. That's what puts the value up of the football club. The club not doing well, not winning, doesn't enhance the value of the club. You've got to win. You've got to win. So, therefore, this is why this summer is going to tell us so much about the Kroenkes. So much. So much. Because you know what, Sophie? Last season, although we were that close to the Champions League and we fluffed our lines and all that, do you know what it told us? Invest the money, the correct money, and we are there or thereabouts. because at one stage it looked like we could chase Chelsea down in third. At one stage. Can you imagine if we'd have a proper squad?
But this is why in January, when we didn't throw the kitchen sink, I said on the show many times that shows the lack of ambition. Because you and I, Kev, if we're in a situation, we own a company and we're like, we know, wham, if we do this, we can get that. You know, if you invest X, you can get Y. And that's why it felt to me that, is anything really going to change at this club? You're right there.
But sometimes, Soph, the actual players that you want, you can't get in January. That's the problem sometimes. And then what you then do, you say, okay, let's just get some bodies in. And the bodies maybe ain't what you want.
I agree with that part, but we've also seen that Newcastle and Tottenham's investments helped, one, save one from relegation, and two, get another team into the Champions League. And I wanted to put this comment up, because Dusan Vlahovic today came out and said he had no conversations with Arsenal, didn't have any idea. Now, is it possible, Kev, that you would never know, or has there been an instance in your career where your agent never told you that a club was interested in you? Because as a publicist,
remember, he knew he never spoke to Arsenal. There's a difference. He said he never spoke to Arsenal, which I could understand, no problem, because Fiorentina would have had to given him permission to speak to Arsenal. But his agent did.
I said all along that we were never. This was a smokescreen. I never believed that this would ever happen. Ever.
Yeah, but whether you believe it or not, his agent was speaking to the club. The agent keeps the player in the loop. The fact of the matter is, the player doesn't need to speak to the club until he gets permission.
Right, but the way, of course, this narrative has now unfolded, once again, they're trying to make Arsenal Football Club to be morons, that you spent all this time in January trying to sign this player and he was never coming to you, he never even knew. So my question to you is, as a film publicist, I know that I have requested an interview with, Matthew McConaughey. And you just know, your gut instinct knows that publicist never even asked Matthew McConaughey. The request never went to him. And I'm just giving you an example. I know that's happened multiple times. Is there, in your career and your experience, a time where your agent maybe never told you that X or Y team were interested in you, Kev?
No, not when it's out in the public. No. No chance. It's impossible. Especially nowadays, it's impossible. Sophie, it's impossible for him not to know. I agree. Maybe he didn't speak to Arsenal because he wasn't allowed to. But to say you don't know in the social media, come on. Pick someone's taking us for a fool. And I'm 52 years old and I'm no fool.
Yeah, it just felt to me that it was a narrative to bash Arsenal across the head with on
and
transfers.
Maybe it isn't all him. Maybe that's a narrative of the media person who put that out. And yeah, there is some there is some truth in it. So maybe he didn't speak to Arsenal because he didn't get the permission from Fiorentina. I get that, but to say you didn't even know, come on. Gee, it was everywhere.
Also, now we've had the media mug us off, but now like Bruno Guimaraes mugs us off. Now Vlahovic is going to mug us off. Like this disrespect, and I truly feel, and I've laid this out to you before. I believe since the 40+ £1 offer in that transfer market, people lost respect for Arsenal Football Club. I think Wenger hurt us so much with that stupidity and that arrogance And also his inability to, not his inability, his refusal to work with certain agents. Continually writes in his books, could have signed this person. Oh, I was close. I went to his house. They drove to me. They were just shut up. I respect everything you've done for the club. But this part of the conversation, I feel like I'm talking about this for the first time today, Kev, because part of me sitting in disbelief thinking today I was noodling. I was like, I want to talk to Kev about this while I have him because it feels like I'm having the same conversation, but it feels fresh.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I'm going nuts because it's a conversation we've had over and over again. Does that
But
make sense?
it makes a lot of sense, Sophie, because you know what, Sophie? Here's the question that I will throw to the squaddies. If Arsene Wenger has Arsenal's best interest at heart, why would you not work with certain agents? To me, it doesn't make sense. If you want Arsenal to be the best, and that is the priority, why wouldn't you work with all the agents?
I agree.
You know, so again, Arsene Wenger's the greatest manager Arsenal have had, arguably. But you know, I just look at things like that and I think, you know, you're a great manager, but it's funny how the second half of your tenure wasn't anywhere near the first because you didn't do what you done in the first part. You signed good young players, made them great, fantastic. But in the second part, you needed to do what was right for Arsenal, and I don't think he did most of the time. We played attractive football and we qualified for the Champions League like it was a trophy. But all those times, Sophie, it actually hurt the club. Cumulative. You know, the cumulative impact on the football club was we were just getting by 4-4-4-4-4-4-4. There's a third chucked in, and there was a second, and all
A
that.
second, yeah.
But over the period, Sophie, where was our strength? Where was that centre half? Where was that centre midfielder? That should have been there. Do you understand what I mean? To me, it don't make sense why it wasn't addressed.
Because, Kev, also, if he was that shrewd, right, this excuse about having to pay the debt of the stadium and utilizing that as the racket to smack away questions about investment, right? They're having to sell the Fabregases and the Van Persies of the world and the Nasris and the Adebayors and all these players. Like, I also, though, you're the same guy who lauds yourself and is lauded for finding Patrick Vieira, for finding Petit, for finding all these gems that you paid tuppence for. So there's no, if your scouting's that good and you still have that eye, you could have got that defensive midfielder. You could have found that centre back. You could have paid a little bit more. You could have been smarter in the transfer market. You know, don't tell me you could have had Benzema. You know, I don't want to hear that. And I feel like it's one excuse after the other to cover up for negligence
Inadequacies.
and inadequacies in decision making.
All right, so I agree with you right on, because you know what? You look at Arsenal and you think, you know, we should have been strong for years and years and years. And do you know, here's the funny thing, Sophie, it's not as if we haven't spent the money.
Exactly,
We've
Kev.
spent money, but we've been stupid with the money. And Arsene Wenger selling those players wasn't because we needed to pay off the stadium, so no chance. It was because a lot of the players started to work out what was going on.
Ambition.
The ambition of Arsenal was about profit. Let's call it like it is. It weren't about winning. If Arsenal wanted to be the best, There is no way under the sun we would go 10 years without a centre half and a centre midfielder. Holding mid, no chance. We know the blueprint that works. But we went longer than that, but I'm just using 10 years, a decade as a yardstick. It's stupid, so it's crazy.
It's and also you give people like Sokratis and look, Kolasinac different because he came on a free, but Mustafi cost 35 million, Xhaka cost 35 million, Pepe cost 72 million. Ozil was given the 350 grand a week contract. Aubameyang was given the contract. Now you could argue those two players deserved it. They were marquee players at the time. It just didn't work out. Maybe I'm not sure. I wholeheartedly blame the club for that, because if we'd have let either one of those players go at the time, I think the sky would have fallen. Everyone was talking about sign the ting. Even Ian Wright went on TV and on social media,
I did,
because
Sophie. With Ozil, I think, listen, we talked about this before, and I'm going to say it again. You telling me Mesut Ozil going forward was incredible with Sanchez? But Sophie, we needed someone in that midfield who could do his running and say, Mesut, you stay there, I'll do the work and get you the ball. We needed a centre half. Didn't get one. We had to patch people up, and Koscielny, listen, I'm not gonna knock Koscielny. I didn't like the way he left, but he was a decent player. But we needed somebody. You can see what we needed. We needed some grit and toughness. We needed that at centre half, and we needed that in the centre of the pitch. So
we could have signed Carvalho. We could have signed Vidic.
Listen, we could have, Sophie, we could have signed 2 players there who could have done a job, but we didn't. That to me is the glaring problem. We never set Mesut Ozil up. We never set Sanchez up. Because you know what? You give them boys a defense, they'll win your games on their own. And it's sad, real sad, but it has to be said.
Should have won the Premier League the season Leicester won it. Had we had those reinforcements that you talk about, that could have easily have happened. What club would let go? Liverpool did their mastery with Mane, Salah, Firmino, and of course we've talked about the reinforcements at the back that kind of arc the circle. But imagine Chelsea, Man United, Man City, Liverpool would never have broken up Santi, Ozil, and Sanchez. Now, of course, Santi had the injuries later on, but at the time, like you said, at their prime, in the moment, people can say what they want now about Ozil, but he was an integral part of the team.
Listen, Mesut Ozil was an incredible player. Our problem was, Sophie, we didn't have the key pieces to complement him and Sanchez. We didn't. But we needed to think defensively. We had Jack Wilshere on, and you heard what he said. Mm-hmm. Going forward, they were great. But when they didn't have the ball, so any manager worth his salt goes, you know what? I get a centre half there who could control, and I get a centre midfield. We'll talk about the spine. You get 2 in that spine, you've got a good goalkeeper. Come on then, let's have a right go at it. Because we could score goals against anybody. The problem was, Sophie, we couldn't keep them out.
Yeah. And even when you fast forward, it's like, okay, some of the defenders City are buying now are really expensive, but if you look back and see what Vincent Kompany cost compared to what it is now, Fernandinho, I don't know, I can't remember what his value is. It's like the cycle of it all continues to evolve. And Kev, that time at Arsenal is the time, and I put it up here. This, which brings me back to how this conversation started. When we disrespected Liverpool and the transfer market and made that offer, we could have signed Suarez. That would have taken our team to a whole new level. We have completely been treated like the mugs we probably deserve to be treated in the transfer market.
And Sophie, the point you never said there, which let me just tag on to that, he wanted to come.
Yeah.
He wanted to leave Liverpool to come to Arsenal, and we offered £1 more. At the cheek. You think about it, it's a disgrace. It's like you're selling your house and somebody comes and says, oh, you've got to buy it. Okay, I'll tell you what, we'll give you, your house is £1 million, we'll give you £1 million and £1. You look at them and say, are you taking me for some sort of muppet?
So true, Kevin.
It's
so
ridiculous.
Bad. When you think,
ridiculous.
I don't know how my mind went here today, but it just did. And I'm like, I just see it's going to be a long summer. We're going to be attached to a lot of players.
The key is to sign some. That's the key, Soph.
Exactly.
To sign some. Never mind being linked. We've got to sign some.
Yeah. And that's the key. Yeah, they built a stadium, they improved, but they could have their problems coming down the line too. They could have done a lot better than they did, and they didn't put their money where their mouths are too much either. Think about how many years they've wasted with Kane and Son.
Listen,
they have wasted.
If this baby Arsenal side was qualified ahead of Spurs, what does that do for Spurs?
Mm-hmm.
That condemns Spurs. They're done. They are done. They had all the experience at the top end of the pitch with the goals from Son. They shared the golden boot with Salah. Fair play to him. And Harry Kane. And that's where we lacked.
Yeah. Okay, so my top 5 agenda blown out the water, but we'll get out real quick on this, Kev. Is it fair or foul that I'm just not excited about this?
I think you're not excited about it because you don't know him. We don't know what we know. He's talented, but it's a project signing, isn't it? He's one for the future.
He's 19 years old. He operates as a winger mostly. But he's also got the talent and the ability to play through the middle. He's a left-footed player. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm excited and that I know too much about him. There are other shows out that have done an analysis on him, but he's 19 years old, you guys. And for me, I want players like this. I want marquee signings like this. I want this. I want us to progress. And no matter what this guy said in his fake Arsenal shirt, I still believe we have the ability to go out. These are players that want to come to the club too. How long has Basuma been saying he wants to come? I know he's got off the field issues, but at some point, Arteta's also got to realize that dealing with off the field problems is part of his job as well. We can't keep sending players away or not dealing with issues. You know, players are humans too. I don't know how serious the Basuma stuff is, and maybe that's why we're not getting stuck into that, Kev. But 19 years old, Seafiled under Nuno, Seafiled under Lokonga, Seafiled under even Martinelli, who, how long did it take for him to actually get a spot in the first team? So forgive me if I'm not particularly excited at this point. That's not to say the dude isn't talented and he may not be a great player in the future.
No, Sophie, you're spot on. Look, we're signing talent that this is a legacy signing. This is a signing for down the road. He might go on loan. If he stays, he might come on a next site from the bench. Look, we just don't know. But we know, great that he signed, brilliant, welcome to Arsenal, Marquinhos. but we know what we know what we need, Soph. We need ready-made Premier League players to come in and make a difference. That's what we need. And
yeah,
you know, we're not gonna be happy until we get that.
agree. Thank
Hi,
you,
Leandro.
Hi, Leandro. Thank you for finding us, and thank you for hanging out. We appreciate it very much. We love welcoming new people to the podcast and the show. Look, I'm giving you examples of players, the ilk.
Mhm.
I've long said on this show, there's a reason why Arteta probably staying away from Basuma. I'm not endorsing what has happened or what is going on in his personal life. I'm just saying that finding talented players who want to play for the club, who have something to offer, who have the experience is the route we should be going. And I'm tired of potential. How many times are we going to sign players with potential? Look, I don't care that he's Brazilian. I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans talk about, oh, we used to be French FC, now we're Brazilian FC. I don't care if he can play and he's going to contribute and become a good player. And if he's got the same kind of talent as Martinelli, I'm fine with that. But football's about instant gratification. We need to up the game now.
No time to wait, Soph. Bang on.
We
It's
have
now.
to have
Time
next
is now.
level signings, Kev.
Sorry, my dear.
We have to have take that says next level signings.
Yeah, we need Premier League ready players who can come in and do the job straight away. That's it. That's what we need.
Okay.
And I think the players that you put up can do that straight away. Straight away. They don't need they're going to have to settle. No, they know the Premier League. They know everything that's required of them. They've done it for years in the Premier League. I think Jesus will go to the next level at Arsenal because he'll be the main man. I really do.
Exactly.
So,
And that says a lot. It's like if Tammy Abraham came, he'd be one of the main men. The two of them would lead the line. They give us an option A and an option B. I just don't want us to be too snobby about players and bringing them in. Let's have players who fit into the system Arteta wants to play. He's building a team. It's not about individuals. If they wanted to be individuals, they'd go play tennis. This is a team sport. And I hear what you're saying, Thunder Road, making academy signings. I get that. But look, we're falling further behind. We need experienced players. And like Kev says, this summer's going to tell us everything about what we have.
Everything.
Right. Chief Like Officer 143. You guys are going to be in trouble because we got 430 in chat.
The squaddies are messing about. Come on, squaddies, get your fingers out, or I'm gonna brock your neck. Sophie, just
You
lovely.
won't come
there
back,
he
will you,
is.
Kev? You're not
There
going to come
he is.
back.
What's the point in me coming back, Sophie, if we give them all this content and they don't even like it?
Yeah.
Man, what's the point?
You got to hit that like button before we go, guys. You got to get it up to 200. Otherwise, we're in trouble. And Kev will not be back until probably a couple weeks. So, yeah, they are bad at maths. I'm not the only one that's bad at maths. Thank you so much, Brian. Absolutely. Come on, Brock them likes. Well said. Absolutely.
Sophie, do you know, here's one thing I will say, Soph. How many, if the club signed all those players, Jesus, Tielemans, and Basuma, then you sign a couple of squad players, good bodies who can come in and do a job, would you be happy? Say 3 of them.
Answer Kev's question, everyone.
Yeah, would you be happy with it?
I would be stoked.
Because I'll tell you this much, Soph. You sign them 3 players and you get 3 more bodies in, experienced bodies in, I'll be happy. I can tell you that much.
Who do you think do you think Balogun's going to go on loan again? Do you think Patino's going to go on loan? Do you think those two are going to be elevated to the first team, Kev?
I think Balogun will probably go out on loan again. And I think Patino might not yet. I think he might train, be around the team, get some minutes in Europe, and then
and the domestic
maybe
cups.
cup games, etc. Because look, we've seen him score. Then we saw him start a game against Nottingham Forest, who now in the Premier League, and they were too big and too strong. Let's be honest, they were too big and too strong in that midfield for a youngster, for him. So gonna have to gauge where he is, and then maybe in January, then he may have to go out on loan in Jan. But I don't see him going out on loan straight away.
Yeah, Marquinhos will go out on loan, won't he, Kev?
Yeah, I think because Marquinhos has been playing first team football out in Brazil, so you're going to want to get him up to speed as quickly as possible. So
okay,
might be in the continent.
Is the squaddies. Every time you post a comment, I hope you guys have been hitting the like button. So Nick says Jesus needs first team football. We're the only club that can give it to him. Well, we're not the only club, but we're the club perhaps that is the right fit for him, as Kev said. Dial Square says yes. Allison says yes. This fan base would not be happy with it, says Wayne.
I wonder why, Wayne.
I wonder why. Bonzo says, I don't like it. I love it.
I love it. That's it, Bonzo. That's what we like.
Matt says we need at least 7. Topper says it won't happen, Sir Kev.
Yeah, but but this is the question. The question is, if we sign those free players, because look, you could always pick up players on a free. There's a lot of players out there. But you get free starters, basically, free starters to add to this young side. Say that we lack experience, etc. You add free players who can start week in, week out. And then you add another free body so our bench doesn't look like Mothercare.
In the back of my mind, and I think some of the others, maybe I'm thinking, okay, what if Tommy Arsu's injured? Who plays right back? And what if Tierney's out? Who's going to play left back? But
so you can plug and play, even a Zichenko. If you added a Zichenko, who
now we're talking.
What? Seeing him in midfield, so you see what a really good technician he is. He's a really good player, but he can play left back as well as he can play midfield.
Yeah, totally. 777 says no, I want more. Nick says yes. Keenan says for sure Jesus, Tielemans, and Basuma add a few squaddies and we could get CL football again. Not again, maybe. I think you mean again up post 6 years. Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rosalind.
Yes, Rosalind. Tielemans doesn't fix our busted midfield, says Newman.
Hold on a minute. But he helps because that's what you sign players for, to help. 1, he can score goals. 2, he can pick a pass, which makes a massive difference to us where defenses are tight. He's got that vision to pick a pass to a striker who's on the move or to a wide player. He's got that vision. So maybe it doesn't fix. One player won't fix it, but it's not one player. It's about the sum of the parts. Make the whole, mate.
And they would have added to the parts we needed in that latter part of the season when we got injuries. Guna Rose says, yes, we need a decent squad of subs. Lynn, hey, Lynn, I'm a very positive person. Normally, however, even I'm getting a little disappointed. Listen, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer tonight. I'm not trying to be negative. There was someone that said, well, maybe I'm not going to hit the like button because it was a negative show. No, it's realistic. It's a realistic conversation about where we're at as a club and what we feel has brought us to this point history-wise. And I'm asking questions because I want to learn more about the financial side. I tend to ignore that a little bit. And I'm just putting my hands up because, it's not my strong suit, or nor do I enjoy having those conversations, because then the reality hits.
So can we ask Lynn why she's getting a little disappointed now?
I think maybe that was my fault tonight.
But I'd like to know because it might be,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah, let us know, Lynn.
when we should be signing Jesus first. Marquinhos is coming in first.
Yeah,
Might be a
exactly.
little disappointed in that.
That's a good point, Kev.
So
Yeah.
I'd just like
If
to
we
know.
if we don't get what we want, we need to protest, says SJ.
I think there will be protests if it doesn't go on.
I think so. KC, it's never going to happen.
Holloway, you might be right, but listen, we can only hope. I think we need more. But if we get 3 starters, because remember, there's going to be 5 players who you can bring on next season from the bench. So we're going to need a stronger bench.
I quote you all the time, Kev. When I'm on the shows, I say, Kev says 8.
Minimum. And I said 8 minimum.
Yep. Obviously not in one window. That's not going to happen in one window. But yeah, 8. Mark says, I want 2 strikers, 2 midfielders, and Saliba back. I'm not accepting anything less.
Well said, Mark.
Guna Greg, Arsenal will probably sign Bissouma when he has 12 months left on his sentence. Oops, I'm in contract. Oh, gosh. Take me back. We need 6 to 8 new signings. Eddie and Elneny don't count as signings. It cheeses me off. Silvio, I'll be very excited. Trev, yes, a decent challenger for top 4. Mo, we're not signing 3 world-class players. I don't see it with Europa. I mean, we signed Lacazette and Aubameyang and Partey and Gabriel and Tierney. We were able to dangle that carrot at the time. Andre says yes, but need another attacker alongside Jesus. Olivier says Tillemans, Jesus, a physical striker under 60 and a right back could equal top 4. Dangerous D says send Arteta out on loan. Let's see. That Bougeman? Loaning out all these players when we didn't have the reinforcements is one mistake he made, which cost us, and I think he'll make a lot of others this season. A bigger squad is a start. Let's see.
The players had to go out on loan.
We wanted to see Zinchenko like a marquee first signing. You were right about that.
Well said,
Matt says, I won't be happy until Xhaka gets replaced. Mo wants new owners. Dean says Nketiah is not good enough for Arsenal. Dublin Guna says, depends who the bodies are, Kev. If one of them is me, I'm dead set against it. Jesus, Gnabry's not coming to Arsenal.
It's not. If he's going to come to Arsenal, it'll be next year.
Yeah.
As a free.
I don't think he's ever coming back. Paul says the club is good at selling us dreams, but not to players. Tammy says we've got 2 likes to go to get to the half. Well done, everybody. Lone Star thinks we've surrendered. Cecil says Aubameyang is forced out of the team without replacing him, and he went on to score goals for Barcelona.
Hey, Cecil, no. Aubameyang was out the team because he was poor.
He wasn't scoring goals
Let's
for us.
have it right.
And this one too, I wanted to add, because I think it's important, and I mentioned that to Kev last week, having players in and bodies in before, the summer tour starts.
Yes, before the pre-season really gets off.
Yeah.
Is when we need them in so they could integrate. Yeah.
Lots and lots, Kev. Spend big this summer, challenge for the title, then go get Neymar next year. Dazza wants you to get your boots out, Kev. There's a lot that say that all the time. Johnny, that's the Neymar one. Paul, I wanted to add, the club is good at selling us fans' dreams. We put that one in. Damian, Jesus Tillemans, Bissouma, Kakpo, and a backup left back. 5 players, absolute minimum. Good evening to you, Mr. Arsenal podcast. Of course, get Kev in. Kev, get Eddie out. Queen Sophie.
Kevin, Eddie out.
He's funny. All right, lots of feedback. Maybe we'll get Kev to line up some more questions for you when he's not around in the next few days. We always love hearing from Kevin. He loves asking you the questions. Listen, once Bananarama sang, it's a cruel summer. Let's hope it's going to be more DJ Jazzy Jeff, and that summertime vibe, Kev, where we're all able to be happy, but the proof will be in the end of transfer window pudding, won't it?
Yeah, we need. You know what, Soph? I think it will be really good for our fan base to really get going for the start of the season, seeing marquee signings coming into the football club. I think that's really important. Don't let it drag out. Go and do the business and get them signed in. That should give us a real lift. That will give everyone a lift, I believe.
Yeah, I agree, Kev. Definitely. Okay, that's been Monday Madness for you. 15 minutes added time. While I have him, I've soaked every single second up with the legend that is Super Kevin Campbell. It's so good to see you back, Super Kev. And, you know, I know that you'll be back whenever you can, and there'll be lots of good more shows coming, you guys. Keep watching our community page on YouTube and our Twitter as well. Tomorrow I'll be on with Harry and Tom and Dan. Harry's given us a budget to spend, Kev. So we're
Ooh.
going in with what our signings will be this summer. So
I wonder how much the budget is.
It's not that great, but it's
I know it
realistic.
ain't.
So it's going to be more depression.
I could only imagine, Harry. Oh, Harry, you're wicked, man. You're wicked. That should be fun.
You can imagine Potsy will have a field day with that one, Super Kev, for sure.
Oh my god, that should be fun.
So,
that would be fun.
And if you missed it, we launched. Jess and I are doing a series together. We launched the pilot episode this last weekend, kicking it with Soph and Jess. We'll be doing it a couple times a month, once on She Knows Arsenal and then on Highbury Squad. So if you missed that, it's on She Knows Arsenal. Please go over there and also subscribe to Jess's channel. And we'll be doing that together in the coming weeks leading up to the new season and during the new season too, Kev, which will be fun.
That looks a really good show. Really good show.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. Right, Super Kev, take us out.
Okay, well, so thanks again for sorting this. Squaddies, thank you for joining us. And thank you for all the likes. Really appreciate it. And you know what? 40 million and £1 was a disgrace. But we need to sign players this summer, don't we? So, Squaddies, I salute you. Look after yourself. Have a fantastic day, evening, whatever you're doing, afternoon. Take good care. Lots of love. And tell your loved ones you love them. At ease, Squaddies. At ease.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.